What I really liked as well is the way that Bielek took
Yeah.
the captain's armband off and he put it around Yuki.
Great, wasn't it?
It was fantastic. And it was almost like, Yuki had to score. I know that's an own goal, and that definitely won't be credited to him, but I think his presence is enough for us to warrant giving him that, I think.
Yeah.
We'll give him that.
On this podcast, Dad, that was a Yuki goal. How about
It
that?
was, we'll call
The
that a Yuki.
BCFC Royal Blue, and that's all that matters. Gives
Yeah,
it to Yuki.
exactly.
So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. And on Saturday afternoon, Birmingham City ended the season with a bang, beating Cambridge United 2-1 and finishing the season on 111 points and also beating Doncaster's previous record of the most amount of wins in a professional English football season. Absolutely fantastic. I feel like for the past few weeks, every time we've done these videos, we were speaking about another record being broken or another amazing milestone the Birmingham City team have hit. However, today is a little bit of a sad one, I guess. It's our last post-match video of the season, but we just want to highlight before we get into this that we will still be producing content over the course of the summer. There'll be a mix of unscripted, question from the fans, maybe we get a new transfer through. So please stay tuned to the channel. We will be producing content over the summer, so don't worry, we're not actually going anywhere, but this is the last post-match of the season. So Dad, Cambridge United 1, Birmingham City 2, what were your thoughts?
Before we get into that, we've literally, about half an hour ago, just come back from St.Andrews, haven't we? We watched the Birmingham Ladies against London Lionesses, and unfortunately the Birmingham Ladies just fell slightly short. They needed to win that game to get promoted to the WSL. London Lionesses took an early lead in the second half, got 2-0 up, and Blues did come back to get to two goals, but it just wasn't enough. And on the balance of play, it was I think a fair result. I think London Lionesses, they look like a decent team, but Blues will be back in the Ladies Championship again next season. I'm sure that Tom Wagner was there. He would have seen what he saw, and I'm sure he will look at what needs to be done to try and make that final step next season. But unlucky ladies, 8,000 people there as well. And we took Matt's children, my grandchildren, there for the first time. So there was lots of children, and really really nice to see all the families there as well. So it was a great event anyway. Just a shame that the result didn't quite go our way.
Well, yeah, good atmosphere, good game of football in terms of quite entertaining. 2 goals up and then we pulled it back 2-2. Of course, we had to leave just before the second goal, didn't we? Because I've got a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. They were getting a little bit restless towards the end of the game, so we did decide to make a move. But great day, fair play to the club, fair play to the ladies. I think we can all say we're really proud of them this season. Hope they push on next season and they can get themselves into the WSL. But of course, they're coming back to the Blues. And
on to Cambridge again. It was our final game in League One, wasn't it? And we all knew that to win that game was to get this 111 points and this record that we were extending. And we did the job, didn't we? I felt that in the first half, we'll come on to the actual nitty gritty of it, was quite scrappy, and the pitch was another pitch that wasn't the best either. But we can't make excuses because Cambridge are a team that were already relegated, and you could argue they had very little to play for. And we got over the line, didn't we? And that's the main thing. We got that record, and also we beat Doncaster's previous record of 33 wins in a single season. Now we have that record as well as the 34, and that goes back to the 1940s.
I cannot see the 111 points being beaten anytime soon. I think that will stand the test of time. I'm talking 50, 60, 70, 100 plus years. I think that has the potential to stand that amount of time for. So, virtue try for. I know it wasn't necessarily a trade-off, but when you think about the final, when you think about now we've set 111, I'm absolutely buzzing that we've ended the season on that high, Dad. And when the game started, I don't know whether you felt this way or any Blues fans felt this way, I thought immediately it had that Northampton away, Charlton away, Shrewsbury away feel to it. That I thought it was going to be a frustrating afternoon. You could tell the pitch was bobbling, the ball wasn't quite getting under control. Clara in the first minute almost let them through on goal because he didn't control the ball properly and the pass was sloppy.
He did let them through on goal.
Yeah, exactly. But the point is, I think our players were struggling to get the basics of that, first touches, getting under their control because, the pitch was definitely playing a part. But thankfully, it kind of opened up a little bit, but I felt like it started quite frustrating.
Well, they could have been 3 up, really, in the first 15 minutes. Kachunga had a couple of good chances as well. But the amount of changes surprised me because we did talk in the pre-match video about the possibility of Chris Davis making changes, and we felt that he might go for his strongest team. But there were 6 changes to the starting line, and that really did take me by surprise. If I tell you who came in, Hanley, Lee, Paig, Harris, Taylor Garden, Hitman and Stansfield all came into the starting lineup, and out went Ben Davies and Cochrane, who weren't even in the squad, Awata, Dowell, Anderson and May. So there was quite a swap over there from the team that started against Blackpool. And I think we felt that it's our last game, so why not put our best team in? But this is about freshness, I suppose. And these players have played a lot of games in a short period of time.
Yeah, but they've got the whole summer to rest now.
Yeah, but I suppose if we didn't play on the Wednesday, we played on the Sunday before that. So and then you add this game in as well. It's like 3 games in the space of 6-7 days, isn't it? So it is a lot to ask. But there was no Ben Davies, no Cochrane, no Samstead, no Hansen on the bench. And I don't know what that team selection tells us, but clearly Chris Davis is vindicated because we still won the game. But I was just surprised by that amount of changes.
Yeah. I think as well, Dad, I think there's a few certain players I notice when they're not playing, we do look a little bit more unstable. And for me, those two, depending on, obviously, the match this season has been Clara and Ben Davies, hasn't it?
Yes.
When that partnership isn't there, I think we do look a little bit more vulnerable at the back, don't you?
Yeah.
I think that partnership is so key and the reason why we've kept so many clean sheets this season. And Ryan Allsop, of course, in goal. I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm just making an observation that when Ben Davies and Clara aren't on the pitch or when that partnership isn't together, I think we look more vulnerable defensively.
I think it's fair to say that in this particular game, Hanley had a poor game. He was definitely responsible for their goal because he should not let that bounce. And obviously, then he got caught out for pace. And a couple of times, at the end of the day, we brought him in as a backup, and we know he's a very, very experienced player. That's why we've got him. He's done well in previous games, but I think he could look back at that, and I think he did admit that wasn't his best game.
Yeah. But my point was that even taking Grant Hanley out of the situation, even taking Bielek out of the situation, when it's not Davies and Clara, we look more vulnerable, in my opinion. But I agree. Grant Hanley didn't have the best of games, as you said. The goal definitely. I think he'll be looking back at that and be frustrated at himself. But I thought, just a little bit off kilter. But when you make that many changes, it's naturally going to happen.
I think that's what it is. I mean, 6 changes is a lot to put into and again, the players are coming in. And they're all training together, so they all know the system. But of course, you create these partnerships and this chemistry when you're playing regularly, don't you? But I just felt that particularly in the first half an hour, we really weren't at the races. And right in the first minute, as you mentioned, mate, I think it was in 15 seconds, the ball was lofted up. They headed it back. I think Clara tries to pass it back, but of course it falls short. And then Kuchunga runs through virtually one-on-one with the goalkeeper at a slight angle. Also makes a save, and you think, what's going on here? Because that doesn't really happen that often. I mean, Clara, it was a short pass, but the pitch didn't help. But the pitch weren't the responsibility of what happened there, and that could have easily have been 1-0. And he had another chance, Kachunga, not long after that, when he went round the back at one of the set pieces and volleyed into the side netting. And that was in the first 10 minutes as well. And he had another chance. This is Kuchunga again, another chance when he shot from inside the box and he knocked it past the left-hand post. I mean, that Kuchunga could have had a hat-trick in about 10 or 15 minutes. And I was watching that. I was thinking the same as you. I'm thinking, what's going on here? That doesn't generally happen to us.
And I felt like they were particularly strong down their left, our right. For the first couple of minutes, they were coming down that side quite aggressively and quite quickly. And what I'll say there, we've said this quite a lot over the course of the season. When you watch someone in the first leg, the first game we played, and then the second game. We played Blackpool around the Christmas period, and they were fantastic. And then they were really not up to the races previously. We mentioned it on a couple of other teams as well. Bristol Rovers, different team. Yeah. I felt like. Neil, you can definitely see on Neil Harris's stamp on the Cambridge team. Yeah. I think he's done a great job. I think they're a lot more compact. They're a lot more set up. And with him in charge, I have no doubt they're going to come straight up from League Two. You could definitely see the Neil Harris touch on that team. But that is not the team that was at St.Andrews a couple of months ago that we beat 4-0, was it?
Yeah,
that was a different
team.
To be
honest, they weren't spectacular.
No,
but you are right. There was a massive improvement.
They weren't exactly.
Because Cambridge, along with Bristol Rovers at home, were the 2 worst performances this season.
Bristol Rovers at home. Yeah, it was bad, wasn't it?
But Cambridge weren't great. We beat them 4-0, didn't we? And there was an improvement here.
I'd say the word would be compact in terms of they weren't all over the place. And as you're right, Dad, they haven't got any standout stars. Kuchunga had a decent game, I guess, for the chances that he had. But as I said, I just felt like they were a lot more together than they were at the St Andrews previously. And I think Neil Harris deserves the credit for that.
Yeah, and for them, it's going to be whether they can keep him because he's a good manager and he's going to go down to League Two if he stays with them. But he's going to be a lot of clubs will be interested in him. And if they can keep him, I've no doubt they'll give them.
He has a connection with them, though, don't he? because he was the manager previously. Was he a player there as well, Neil Harris, Cambridge? I think he might have been. But
well, he was manager there, but he left to go to Millwall, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he came back again. But
and he did a good job at Millwall as well.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, kept them up, didn't he? He kept them up. But and then the goal. Then, as we know, if you looked at the pre-video, I missed it. Matt strikes again. Matt says it'd be lovely to finish the season with a goal for Clara. Now, this goal was particularly interesting because when he scored it, he was almost too embarrassed to celebrate. I think you noticed. It literally was a cross. It was a cross, but what a cross!
You can tell it was a cross as well because before he strikes it, he looks into the box.
Yeah.
He doesn't look at the goal or the goalkeeper. He looks to see who's free, and clearly he's just put too much on it. I mean,
he couldn't have put it anywhere better.
Because we couldn't get tickets to the Cambridge game, so me and you were watching on telly, and we were exchanging texts, don't we? Sometimes when we have to watch it because we've got family commitments as well. And I texted you, didn't I? Or I said to you, like, he couldn't have placed that better if there was no players on the pitch and he threw it in.
No.
You know, it was perfectly placed.
If he was trying on his own, he had 100 balls. He would probably get 1 out of 100 and do that. It was absolutely perfect. But and you're right, it was lovely to see him score.
It was.
But he didn't seem very impressed, did he? He just like, scored, and as you'd expect from Club. Which is one thing I love about his personality. He's just he's so focused.
It's kind of like snooker when they fluke, they tap the table to apologise, don't they? It's like it's like the football version. Club was just he almost like put his he didn't, but he wanted to put his hands up, didn't he? And almost like say sorry. He kind of felt like a little bit embarrassed. But
it's almost like he knows that the award ceremony is tonight. Actually, I think. Yeah. At the time of recording, we're recording on Sunday.
Yeah.
So it's almost he's thinking, I know that I'm going to get a lot of awards, but I'm not really got I haven't got anything in the goal of the season. Let's try this. So he gets nominated for goal of the season. But I mean that put us 1-0 up, and realistically, we didn't really look like scoring before that in terms of there wasn't any major chances for us.
But what I will say that after that goal went in, we did take a little bit more of a foothold. We didn't it wasn't the typical Blues. I think the pitch played an impact. I think Cambridge were chasing us down well as well, but I think we did start to pass the ball around a little bit more. There was a little bit.
But ironically, that's when they scored.
Yeah.
And it was literally a loop ball. Like, we've been caught out a few times like this, with balls over the top in games. Sometimes they haven't been punished for it, but this game we did. And, it's one of those games, it was lopped over. And I think with hindsight, I mean, Hanley might look at that and think maybe I should have at least tried and get in a position where I could have headed it.
I think, absolutely. I think he'll be kicking himself.
But the problem is because of his age now, if you get a player behind him, he's lacking in pace, and that's just his age, And once
even in his prime, Dad, Hanley was never a fast player.
Yeah.
He's the kind of intelligent defender that reads the game, and he didn't read that situation well at all.
But that Nathan Bishop gets in front of him, and to be fair, it is a good finish.
It is a good finish.
And again, he couldn't have really put that in a better place. Really, just tucked inside the left-hand post into the side netting.
From the angle as well.
It was. I don't think he had any support in the box, so I think he had to shoot, but it was a good goal. A bit disappointing from our perspective, I think. I think that's fair to say. It was disappointing. And that was 1-1, and that's how it went in at half time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
And I was thinking at half time, I wasn't overly impressed with that. Thinking that's a poor performance, but actually we're still in it because it's 1-1. And then, which I thought was really important, Chris Davis made 2 substitutions at half time. He brought on Awata and Dow, took off Paik and Williamson.
Yeah.
I don't think Williamson did anything particularly bad in that game to warrant, being taken off because he was having a bad game. I think it was just tactical because there's no argument that Dowell in the number 10 compared to Williamson. Dowell, I think, is more cleverer
he's more impactful.
His thought processes are slightly faster. And Williamson, he's been okay in the last few games, to be fair, and he's really improved. But I always like Dowell on the pitch. I know there's mixed views for some people, but for me, I really hope we sign Kieran Dowell. I think he's. I know it's a personal view. I know not, I'm not sure you're 100% convinced with him, but I like him. I like his creativity, and he's got the touch. He's almost like not visionary, but he can see a pass.
Yeah. Dad, I like Dowell. I like Dowell a lot. I think he's a good player. Just in my personal opinion, maybe this is a little bit of arrogance. I'm not an arrogant guy, and I don't speak this way normally. I think we can do better to make ourselves a stronger championship team this summer, in my opinion. But I like Dowell. Nothing against Dowell. Happily go for a beer with him and shake his hand and say thank you for everything you've done this season for us. But and if I woke up tomorrow and it said that we've offered Dowell a full-time contract, I wouldn't be upset about it. I back him, get behind him. I think he's a good player. I just think we should be aiming for the stars this summer, and I don't think he's quite at the mark.
I think we've only seen a snippet of what he can do. I hope we sign him. I agree with you. Maybe if that's not to be, and we're going to get other players in that are equal, better quality, that's absolutely fine. But from what I've seen of him in League, the difference he's made since January.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think he's been absolutely fabulous.
But there's no doubt
he has had games where he's not been effective. He's given the ball away. But you tell me a player that hasn't.
I know. I totally get that point. And I think defensively, Dad, we're pretty much set for next season. I think we have an outstanding back. I think the sixes, Paik and Iwata, outstanding. I'd be surprised if they got replaced or changed in the Championship. I think a lot of Blues fans will agree, though, that forward three, the right, the middle, and the left, need swinging round and changing. And for me, the 10 in the Championship is absolutely crucial. And if Dal fits that bill and Chris Davies sees him there, I trust Chris Davies. I like Dal. I'm happy with that. But I think we need an absolute beast in the Championship of a number 10. Anyway, I think we're going slightly off track a little bit on Dal there.
Let's get back on there. Maybe that's another
podcast
discussion. But let's get back to the game. And, the second half starts. And Cambridge had a few half chances, actually. But then they're descending off as well. And I want to get your thoughts on this, Matt, because I looked at it, in my opinion, when I looked at it a few times. I thought it was a second yellow card, so it wasn't a straight red offence. But I thought it was a little bit harsh, actually.
No, agreed. My instinct was that looked harsh. And on replay, I thought it was harsh. I think if that happened to us, I'd have been fuming, put it that way.
Yeah.
And I think what's happened is, I think it was kind of like an illusion. I know that might sound ridiculous, but it looked like his foot went over the ball, but it didn't.
Yeah.
And I think it might have looked more dangerous to the referee than it actually was. Because on replay, because they're in the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, that's the problem.
They're in the moment. If it looked like he went over the ball, obviously it's a yellow card and it's a foul, but I don't think he did. And for me, even as a Blues fan, I think that was a harsh second yellow.
Yeah, I do as well.
Yeah.
And
I'll take it though.
No, but you really say take it all day long because that's going to happen and has happened
karma,
in the past, isn't it? But when I looked at the replays, I looked at it a few times. Is that there's very minimal contact actually. I mean, Lee goes down and there is some contact, but it's not enough to warrant a yellow card. But of course, that's Kachunga walking down the tunnel, and that's them down to 10 men. And then you think from that point you're going to struggle against us with 10 men.
I'll tell you what I will say about the referees, Dad. I know this is a common theme, and I promise we won't lose the thread of the podcast here. But what I will say is that was a very harsh yellow, and there was other fouls in the game which were an outright foul or an outright yellow. And this is my problem with the League One standard, is that there's no consistency. And it's been driving me nuts, and I'm sure it's been driving a lot of Blues fan nuts all season as well. But I think this is one of the biggest reliefs for me, Dad, that we're playing Championship football. Is I thought when we were in the Championship, the refereeing was shady sometimes, but when you go into the League One, you actually realise it's a decently higher standard in the Championship. So get us back there for even for the refereeing standards.
Well, we are.
But get us back there like tomorrow, so we can start playing again. But
no, I agree. Substitute Yuki comes on as a sub, and again, I think I said that in the last game when we brought him on. The players, when Yuki comes on, are trying to.
You could see it, couldn't you?
They're just passing everything to try and get in. I think that sort of interrupts our natural play a little bit because we're not normally doing that. But actually, he had a great chance, and I don't know how he missed it. Actually, Stansfield crosses it,
lovely ball
from the left, and it's almost like I don't know whether he bounces just in front of him, and I think it shins or whatever. It just ricochets, doesn't it? And it really just needed a foot through it if he was. But obviously, it must have came through over quite fast. Oh, if that had gone in, my word.
The roof would have came off.
Yeah, but then actually, he was heavily engulfed in the second. Everyone thought he'd score it. And we're going to give it to him on this podcast. We're going to give it to you because... the ball's crossed in, and as always, he's always a pest, isn't he? When you put a ball in, he's physical, strong, and he actually forced the own goal, didn't he? I think I can't remember the player it actually came off. I think I've got his name here somewhere. Watts. It was across from Lee. And obviously Yuki's competing with this Watts, but obviously put him under pressure, and it pings off his back or whatever, and it's heading it's into goal, and that's 2-1. And Yuki's over with the players over to the fans. What I really liked as well is the way that Bielek took the captain's armband off and he put it around Yuki.
Great, wasn't it?
It was fantastic, and it was almost like Yuki had to score. I know that's an own goal, and that definitely won't be credited to him, but I think his presence is enough for us to warrant giving him that. I think we'll give him that.
On this podcast, Dad, that was a Yuki goal. How about that?
It was, we'll call it
the BCFC Royal, and that's all that matters. Gives it to Yuki.
Exactly. We had one final really good chance towards the end. Mark Leonard hit the bar from a free kick.
Yeah.
Nice to see him score as well. I think he could finish his season.
I'll save my mystic for next season on Mark Leonard. I'll let you know, guys, when he's going to score.
But in the end, we got the 3 points. It was 2-1, and it was quite comfortable in the end. So particularly when they had their player sent off, they didn't really hurt us too much. No. And I think what we've done over this season now, Cambridge is a typical example of a team that we've played that we haven't been used to when we've been playing in the Championship. Bobbly pitches, small grounds. teams that are, maybe not technically as good at us, but will fight for everything. And I think that was a really nice way to finish against a team like that to get the 3 points and get all these records as well. I mean, how many club records have we broken, and how many national records have we broken? It's been absolutely crazy, hasn't it, in terms of the season that we've had?
It is, and it's come to an end, Dad. What conclusion it's came to, though? We've broken the points record. In fact, we've obliterated it, really. As I said, I can't see that being broken again. It's been a fantastic season, actually. And I know we are going to do a bit of a thoughts on the season kind of video, in a week or two's time. But, while it's the last podcast we're going to do as a post-match, I think it's worth having a real 30-second reflection. I've loved it. I've loved the away days. I've loved, travelling the country with you, Dad. We've seen some great stadiums in the context of, League One stadiums here, the old style, one way in, one way out, old school toilets and all that sort of like. And there's been some interesting games, been some great nights. I think about Wrexham at home, Dad. I think about Peterborough away when we won the league. Some absolutely amazing memories. I'll never forget it. And I'm looking forward to getting back into the Championship. I really mean this, I've loved every single second of this season. I think it's been fantastic.
Me too, and I think the main bonus for me, because I'm a little bit older, going down to League One has given me the opportunity to reconnect with the way it used to be. Going to stadiums that I used to go to, the feel of the older stadium. You haven't got these modern fish bowls, and it's just been absolutely fabulous. I mean, that's the way it always used to be. That was it. That was the type of stadium, and some of the grounds we've been to really have reminded me of what it used to be like. And it's been absolutely fabulous from that perspective. I'm not sorry to get out of this division, by the way. No. Everybody has wanted to beat us. Everybody, apart from our own fans, has hated us, which don't bother us, but that's just the way it is. We've got a target on our back. We will have when we go into the Championship, to be fair, but this has been a tough league. We were told we were in for a shock. Well, the only shock that people got is the amount of points we got and the amount of goals we scored. The shock wasn't on us; it was on them. And I'm so proud of the team, so proud of Chris Davis. Don't forget his first job as a manager.
Absolutely.
So all his support staff, the whole team, and the players and everybody involved in and the fans. The fans have been brilliant. Really, the atmospheres we've had. Home and away have been absolutely superb. So, it's a great way to sign off the season. Also, one final thing for me, I'm really pleased for UK as well, that he was able to finish his playing career in a team that have won a trophy, got promoted in terms of the League One trophy, got promoted, and able to score a few goals for his beloved Birmingham City. And it would have been horrible, wouldn't it, if his career would have fizzled out with a relegation?
Yes, exactly.
So it's good that they gave him the 12 months.
And he's staying on with the club as well.
Yeah.
In some capacity. Obviously, no one knows really what that means or what that looks like, but I'm sure we'll hear in the summer. And I have no doubt Chris Davies values him around the camp in terms of his experience, his knowledge, his professionalism. He carries the team, doesn't he, in terms of his presence and the way he is. The ultimate professional, UK. And I'm glad he's staying with the club, and just a legend. Love him. It's
been great. I say our league season is now over.
It is.
There is no more games in this league. We won't play in League One, hopefully, for a long, long time. It's just been absolutely brilliant. And on to the Championship now next season. But don't forget what Matt says at the start of the podcast. This is not our last podcast this season. We are going to be continuing to do podcasts all through the summer. So make sure you keep in touch with the channel in the off season.
Because normally we do 4 or 5 a week, depending on if we have a couple of games a week or there's big news happening. Whereas in the summer there'll probably be a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Friday. But we're still going to be producing content. There'll still be a lot of stuff coming out. So please stay tuned. And we met a few people at the women's game today, didn't we? And they were saying great job, and we hope that the videos continue. So
we've got to give some names because they particularly asked to have the names. And you text me the names. The problem is when we go to a home or an away game, and people come in and speaking to us, we can never remember all of their names. So
we met 2 ladies when we were ordering the curries, Dad, and they were Marie and Catherine. They were 2 lovely women, giving us lots of compliments, and very lovely. And pleasure to meet you, and thank you for the kind words. Richard as well. It was the chap I was talking to again at the curry place. Very lovely guy, and giving us loads of compliments again. And I met Paul as well. Paul, who stopped us and just gave us a couple of praises and stuff. So again, the theme was please let the content continue. So don't you worry, it will be over the summer, but it will be more about maybe transfers, maybe some best memories of the season, reviews, those kind of things. Exciting times. But as Dad said, that's the last of this season. The next pre-match video you'll see in a professional capacity for Birmingham City will be in the Championship when that season starts, and how exciting and fantastic is that. But yeah, we're going to draw this video to a close now, but as always, we'd love to hear from you, Blues fans. Please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Maybe you're a Cambridge fan, we would like to hear from you as well, but please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if that's a video specifically, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and check us out on our social media channels. We have an X page, we have an Instagram page, and we're also over on Spotify, so you can listen to us and watch us over on that platform as well. And if you haven't already, please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and press that bell notification so you get notified every time we post a video. And myself and Dad will see you on the next one, all about Birmingham City.